Hello everybody, welcome back to Photo Australia, and in this episode we're going to talk about catalogues as well as workflow. And I find the simplest thing is to try and have a very simple file structure on your computer. It doesn't matter whether you're using Lightroom or any other type of other software. I'll be showing Lightroom because I use Lightroom for my cataloguing. And I'm going to show you some do's and don'ts that I've found along the way. Everybody has their own separate system, but I think the best way to test if you've got the correct system is that you can put somebody else in front of your computer, or if it's on a laptop, hand your laptop over to somebody, and if they can pick up on your file system very quickly, I think you're on the right path. Now, this is both helps in time of accessing your photos. You should be spending more time on processing and not worrying where's the photos, where they're gone, as well as if, as life happens and as we, pass on or whatever, we really don't want to have our photos be lost. So I think it's very important that you've got a simple, easy to use catalogue. And it would be a good idea to put your best photos in one area as well, so that if your photos do get handed onto the next person, that they don't get lost and deleted, because it's tragic to find that people's catalogues or photos that they've had, especially in this digital age, can easily be deleted or a computer thrown out or anything like that. So and for workflow also is to have something that you can quickly, easy access and never have that worry. And there's nothing worse than not being able to find a photo. I've been there, done that, and it's terrible. So I'm going to just put up just a quick show of how I run my catalogues. You can make your own variants on this. I basically break it down into so I have one folder on my computer, which is, so I don't put it under the pictures folder on, and this goes for Apple or PC, but I always have a separate folder on my computer that is titled, you can call it whatever you like. I call mine just main pics. I don't use the Windows default area because I find it can get jumbled up with, if you're on the internet or downloading stuff online or other little projects, that can get messed up in the pictures folder or your main documents areas, even copying and files from place to place. So I find it's better to have a separate area on your system and call it what you need, that you want to. And I just name mine main pictures. And under that, my next structure is I'll put the year. So I find that it will break it up into the years is probably the easiest way to segregate. From then I go to, instead of worrying about months and all of that sides of things, I think that's too complicated. I'll then break it up through the year of what I've been shooting. So whether it be a place I've been or a particular trip. So if I go, say, with the camera club, which mine's South Coast Camera Club, I'll just write SCCC, and it might be a trip to Tailem Bend, and I might just write Tailem Town or wherever I've been, or same thing if I go to Alaska, I'll just write Alaska in there. If I go back to the trip multiple times, well then I might just either rename the folder and tag on there the month. But I think it's important, if you've just got it very simple, of just where you've been, or a shooting name or a trip name. This will all depend on how many photos you take through the year, but I still find this is a simpler way. Then after that, if it's a very large trip, quite often I'll just leave it at that, and all the photos just go, I import them in and they just all go under that folder. But if it's a very large, so I sometimes go away on a trip for, say, 3 weeks, sometimes I'll then break that down further and I just go day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. So you can have your little variances on it, but the big thing is not to have too many levels. And I also find, especially if you're using Lightroom, and I'm going to bring up Lightroom now. So if we go into Lightroom, on the left here we've got our folders, but when you go to import, and I find this a very major thing. So this all the stuff I've talked about before, you can implement on any other software. So it's how it sits on your computer. Now, if you're using Lightroom, in here, when you go to copy your photos, I always use DNG from my camera card. On the right-hand side, if we go down to destination, and you'll find in here that it's got organize. And normally Lightroom will have it organized by date. I think that is one of the worst, and this is just the way my mind works. What it does is it looks at your camera and it will make a heap of folders depending on the day that you have shot your photos on your camera, which some people might prefer to go that way. I find it a bit too messy. So I actually go organize into one folder, and then I write and I tick into subfolder, and this is where I write my trip name, which the last one I did was this is the editor I use for the channel, and the last one was the water drop episode. So I had written in there water drop E20. So that way, that what it will do when you download your photos, it will then put them all into the one folder which you name for the trip. I find that a lot simpler and a lot cleaner. I find that if it's organising in by date, you end up with a lot of folders, and I find there's a very messy way of having an organised system. So the other thing that is worth noting with Lightroom is you can also put keywords in. And I've found lately I haven't been using a lot of keywords, but and if I just cancel out of here, but it's still worth doing, because if you need to search for a photo, and as you can see here on these are some of my first photos that I took in Tasmania, some very old photos here, but I find that if you're going to keyword, pick out 3 things that describe that photo shoot for that trip. So for me, it was Tasmania. These were holiday pictures. So I wrote holiday. And if you can think of a third one, also put in there. Well, this one here, I've got Kangaroo Island, remarkable rocks and landscape. Well, this enables you to search in Lightroom, and you can search for keywords. And I can type in Kangaroo Island and it will pull up every Kangaroo Island photo I've taken. Or remarkable rocks, I can just type in remarkable rocks and it will pull up everything that's got remarkable rocks in it. So it can be a very handy tool for searching. But the funny enough, as I've sort of built a very large catalogue back on my home PC, I usually relay everything back to that year. So I'll go, Alaska, and I'll click on, I knew I was the year that I was in Alaska, and I'll just click on the year, and the trip name is written straight under the year. And I usually pick up those photos very, very quickly. So I guess the one thing to take away is if you have got a messy catalogue or it's very hard to follow, it might be worth having a look. The good thing with Lightroom is if you're looking at going and using Lightroom's catalogue system, if you've got a clean filing system to begin with, you can import it straight into Lightroom. And vice versa, if you change your mind that you don't want to use Lightroom anymore, if you've got a clean file system on your computer, you can easily go, I'm not going to use Lightroom anymore, I'm going to use some other software. and you've always got that clean file system on your computer, so you can easily transfer from one program to another. The main thing I find, if you are going to be a Lightroom user, and if you're going to catalog with Lightroom, I'd suggest if you are going to use Lightroom, you also catalog under Lightroom. And if you're going to use some other software to edit in, which we've got a lot on this computer now, is to always be in Lightroom, and you can easily right-click on a photo and click on Edit In, and then edit in another application. Save it in that other application or other software you're using, and then it automatically drops back into Lightroom. This can be very handy so that you never lose your photo on the computer. You should never ever lose a photo on a computer. And if you use Lightroom as your central hub, and I believe that's why they've written it that way, is that you can use it as a central hub that keeps all your photos in order. And I use the star rating, and this is moving into workflow, which I'll quickly just run on now, is you can use your star ratings in the catalog system of Lightroom, where you can, I use the star rating. They've got color ratings, they've got all sorts of different things you can use. I use the star rating, and basically when I look at if I just change here, so this is some photos from the water drop episode that I did earlier. You can, any photos that you think are worth looking at, so I quickly look at the photos. Anything that's worth processing, I will then give a 1 star. And from there, I will then mark that for later for processing. So if you go through all your photos and star rate them to start with, and go, this looks a good photo, it's worth a look, give it a 1 star. If it's a photo that needs to be stacked or joined, like a panorama, I always give them a 3 star. You can do whatever works for you. So I use 3 stars for them, anything that needs to be stacked or joined. 4 stars is usually I've played around with the photo, but it's not quite ready to be printed or finished. And 5 star is completely finished. So you can use the star ratings for any way that you like. That's the quickest way I use it. That way that, and you can use your filters here and go to your rated ones. And you can see here I've got some 4 stars rated there, and you can actually choose what rating you want. So if I just want to look at the 5 stars, which are finished and processed, which I haven't got any in this folder, but they're 4 star rated. So when they're finished and ready for printing, or you've finished printing them, you can bring up all your 5 stars. And if I go to this folder here and click, these are all the 5 star, which are my old photos that I first started photography. And they're the ones that I've actually printed. So that's a bit quick rundown of to clean up your catalogs. So yeah, have a look. Get somebody else to come in and have a look at your catalog system, which can be quite interesting. So not too many arguments, people. So yeah, have a look, and yeah, see whether other people can pick up on your catalog system without you having to show anything. And if they pick up on it very quickly, I think you're on the right track. I think it's something that's very important that people can overlook. And the biggest thing I can say is make sure that your file structure on your computer, or your folders on your computer with your photos in it, is very simple and clean. Is why I recommend 3 layers down. So that way I've got the year, then my trip name, and then maybe one layer after that if needed. That way it just keeps it very simple, very easy to find. And makes it very easy to transition from software to software if needed. So with that, I think I'll wind this episode up. Yeah, if you've got any ideas of what you do or suggest, whack it down in the comments below. If I'm right or wrong, go for it. With that, I'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.